I'm so thrilled to be here tonight with a fantastic actor you've seen in such projects as Scream, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Better Things. Still, I doubt even her biggest fans were prepared for her fearless, stunning work in Anora. She has received nominations from the SAG Awards, the Academy Awards, and I'm so pleased to introduce her tonight as Bafta Award winner, Mikey Madison. So much for being here, and congratulations on everything, but specifically, 48 hours ago, you won the Bafta Award, and no one was surprised but you.
Well, first of all, thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate it. I can't believe that was 48 hours ago.
Right?
Weeks and weeks ago. It was a complete shock to me, and also to my co-stars, I think, because they screamed so loud.
I don't know. I think we might have been the only one shocked, but still, that's fantastic. By the way, before we start, has anyone seen this for the first time tonight? That always surprises me. Wow, fantastic. Well, I'm so glad you caught it. Because Anora premiered at the Cannes Film Festival way back in May, and it's all anyone has really talked about since. I'm really curious what the last few months of your life has been like. I mean, could you ever have predicted this little indie film would have such a global impact?
Oh my gosh. No, it's been such a journey. I had no expectations going into the release of this film. I mean, even just going to Cannes Film Festival was an absolute dream come true for me. And so it's been quite a whirlwind. It's been really interesting and fun. And like you said, we've been able to go premiere our film in so many different countries to incredible audiences. And people continue to show up and see the film months and months after it's been released, like today. So it's amazing.
There's been such an impact of it. I was actually just saying earlier, I can't wait for Halloween because I feel like we're going to see a lot of Annies. Are you prepared for that?
Actually, there were Annies last Halloween.
There were a couple, yeah.
And so I was sent a handful of photos of people, which was so amazing and fun to see.
Some really good ones, too.
Oh, yeah, I mean, the tinsel and the hair and everything.
Yeah, I feel like everyone has now really caught up with the movie. It's really going to be crazy this year, so I'm looking forward to it. What about in terms of, this is an audience of your fellow actors, so I also sort of like to ask, has it changed your life and your career? Are you seeing the results of that already, or is it more, that you're hearing from so many people you admire that are now interested in working with you?
It is really cool to be a part of a guild that celebrates and uplifts each other so much. That's really incredible. I do feel like my life has changed, but not just because of all of this that's happening now, but because of just the experience of making Anora. It was so incredibly collaborative and transformative. I feel like I learned a lot about myself as an actress and as a person, and it was a dream come true role for me, one that I had been waiting for a decade plus. And so just having that experience in itself was life-changing.
Something that really thrills me is you're going to the SAG Awards not only with a nomination for yourself, but 3 nominations, including one for the ensemble, which I'm just so thrilled. I think there's so much chemistry in this cast, and specifically most of your scenes are shared with Yura and Mark, who play Igor and Vanya. I'm curious, was there ever kind of a chemistry read between them, or did you just meet them on set?
No chemistry read. Sean is one of the only directors that casts all of his own films completely himself with no casting director, and so he knows exactly what he wants, and I think that there's just some kind of magic thing going on in his head that puts people together in a way where he knows that it's just going to work. And so, no, I met Yura on set, and we jumped into filming, and Mark I was able to meet maybe just a couple days before, and we hung out a bit, but no chemistry read, no table read, we just went straight to shit. Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense, because that's sort of how they meet in the movie. You know, there's no preamble, they just sort of get to it, and there's instant chemistry. But you know, it's always a little strange, like what if that chemistry isn't there? I guess that's where good acting comes in.
I think it's about trying to cultivate something, some kind of feelings, even if you meet someone, which this wasn't the case on this film. I met Mark and Yura, and I instantly loved them in some way. But I think that I've definitely had other situations where I didn't feel quite that kinetic pull. And so you find things in your fellow actors that you love, like, oh, he or she has this endearing laugh, and that's going to be the thing that you focus on. And so I think, you know, we all will find things to be able to latch onto. But it was easy from the get-go. And Mark and Yura are both incredible actors, but in such different ways too. And they brought such different energies to their characters, and so I think that the way that I felt about them was very clearly different, you know, meeting each of their faces.
You started acting at such a young age, which is not to imply that you're old and grizzled now. You are obviously not. You're still very young. But was it started as a hobby, or was it something you always knew you wanted to do as a career?
No, I mean, I don't come from an acting background. Nobody in my family has been in the industry, and so I just, maybe around 14, 15, I got really interested in films and filmmaking and acting and what that might be like or feel like, and I just felt really drawn to it for some reason. And I was like a pretty shy kid, which I know, or I've learned, I think a lot of actors are quite shy, which is interesting. We could talk about another day, but and so I just felt this draw towards creating character, the adventure of making a movie, the adventure of playing a character that gets to live a different life, but you're still the vessel for it, you're still the body that gets to experience all of that adventure. It was something so fascinating to me. I'm sorry, what was the first
Oh, if it was a hobby, or if you always thought of it as a career, even at 14.
No, I mean, I don't know if I ever thought, like, oh, I will absolutely be able to have a career in this. I just thought, well, you know, I might as well try, because I feel like I have to chase this particular dream. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that feeling of feeling like you just absolutely have to do this. And that's how I've always felt. And so I've, you know, just been chipping away. And, you know, I've been times where I've been a working actor, and I've had times where I haven't worked at all for years, and it's ebbed and flowed. And, but yeah, I mean, it's always been a dream, but it started about a decade ago.
And I know you didn't have to audition for this movie because Sean had seen your work, and I love that it was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but also you went to the opening weekend of Scream, which I just kind of love that the Anora director is checking out Scream on opening weekend. And you know, I don't know, do you get a call or a message that he wants to meet you? What is it like to have that experience? And you know, you do projects and you don't know who they're going to reach and who they're going to touch. Like, would you have thought Scream would have been your in with Sean Baker?
Well, you know, Sean sees everything.
He does.
He goes to the theater. He's a true cinephile, so he watches everything. And he had seen me in Once Upon a Time years before, and my handful of scenes in that. And he told me that he remembered thinking, oh, you know, maybe he will work together in some capacity at some point, but I don't know what it will be. You know, years passed, and then I did Scream. He went to go see it. And remembered me and thought, oh, this is the girl that I got to work with. And so he reached out a couple days later. We had a coffee, and he had been sort of mulling over this idea for Anora, and pitched me the idea and said, if you want to do this, I'll write it for you. And it was pretty...
yeah, how long did you think about that?
You don't think about it. I mean, I was already in even before for coffee
Yeah.
because my agent said he wants to write this for you, and it's like, for me? You try not to question it too much and sort of push down that imposter syndrome, but I've never had to not audition for a movie role or any role before, and so pretty spectacular that he, took a chance on me or thought that I would be able to play this character because, gosh, what an incredible character. So complicated, so nuanced and interesting, and all of the things I got to do, all of the research and the physical preparation, the emotional preparation. I learned another language for this film. It was such an adventure from the beginning to end, and I got to be such a big part of it, which had been like a career-long dream of mine. I was a part of the creation of Anora from before it was even written, all the way to the last day of editing, and so, talking to Sean every day while he's in the editing room, and that's like a dream, I think, to have that kind of collaboration with someone, especially a filmmaker like Sean, who is so singular and incredible.
How long did you have to prepare?
I had a long time, and usually as actors we don't always have the luxury of time to prepare. But from us meeting to being on set for the first time was about a year. So, I had 4 to 5 months to slowly and then more intensely start the physical preparation of learning to dance like a stripper, and that was a big undertaking because I couldn't dance for shit before. I wanted it to be really impressive. I wanted her to seem like a seasoned dancer who's been dancing for a few years, and so that required a lot of dedication. And it was fun too, it also changed my body. It gave me a dancer's body. It made me more in tune with my sexuality. It made me feel a certain way. I was just able to move differently than I did before. And then learning Russian, I had maybe about 2 months for that, which I was kind of like, can we start earlier? Because, so I was, hitting Duolingo pretty hard.
It was Duolingo.
Well, Duolingo still sends me notification.
You missed a day.
I missed like a year, but no, I had an incredible Russian coach who was also our script supervisor on set and wore a couple other hats, but he was great, and the accent, and also just researching sex work and that community and what that kind of profession is like. I was able to talk to a lot of consultants that were brought into the film. I went to Brighton Beach, and I lived there about a month before shooting started, so I could immerse myself in that environment and community, so I could go to clubs and shadow dancers, test out my accent and really just sort of soak everything in. It was. I've never done anything like this before. I've never played a character that required this amount of pre-planning.
Yeah.
So it was fun and difficult and everything that I had been hoping for so long.
I'm glad to hear you didn't hang out with serial killers to prepare for Scream. Spoiler alert, but the movie's been out like 5 years, so. That's true. All the people you met and spoke to, though, was there anything, I'm sure there's so much you gained from that, but was there something that particularly stayed with you, or just even like a personality quality about someone that really informed the character of Annie?
I was able to meet so many incredible women. And I think it was a lot of little things. They were just able to offer a lot of insight and nuance into that kind of work and what the day-to-day is like. And just shadowing dancers, I was able to kind of be dressed up like one of them and be more of a fly on the wall and watch what the etiquette is like at the club, how they talk to their coworkers, how they approach customers, and talking. The first time I spoke to a consultant, I quickly realized just how difficult of a job it is. Firstly, how physically demanding of a job it is, because as a dancer, you're on your feet all night, you're giving dances, and then on top of that, how emotionally demanding it is, because as a dancer, you have to immediately be able to connect with someone. Yeah, I think you have to be quite intuitive to be a dancer. You have to look at someone in that moment, try to read what kind of person they are, what kind of communication they want, what you can offer them, what they can offer you, how you can have a good time together. And so it's a lot just reading people. And I was like, wow, this is a really hard job. And it was really interesting to realize that, because obviously there's a lot of improvisation in the film, and the entire opening, watching Annie approach customers in the club, it's all improvised. And so there was just a live club that was set up, and I was going from, looking and going from this man to the next, giving dances. All of those dances were improvised, and so all the research I did was so valuable in me being able to navigate those situations in a way that was honest. So we were able to, pull bits and pieces that really inform you a lot about the character and show you that side of her from when she's at work.
I mean, it is a very demanding role emotionally and physically, and as an actor, how do you sort of prepare for that? I feel like it's like preparing for a marathon. You know you're going into this thing. You're also working on an independent budget. You're in every scene, pretty much. Was there any way you sort of prepared for that, or took care of yourself during filming?
I mean, I think it's different every time in my preparation process. I don't necessarily have like a process, I think it's just intuitive. Whatever I feel like I need to do for each character, I'll do. And it's been interesting. I think that making Anora has really inspired me and pushed me to want to go even further and search even deeper in terms of like the next character, the next job I'll play in. And so, yeah, I mean, taking care of yourself, I try to decompress as much as possible. But I mean, look, like even if, like, yes, it was a fucking hard film to make, it was exhausting, the character carries with her a lot of heartbreak and pain, but at the end of the day, I still recognize how lucky I am to be living my dream, making a movie with Sean Baker, and so any pain, any discomfort, it's all temporary. The film is what lasts forever. And so there were absolutely really difficult days, but I still woke up the next morning excited to go back to work again. But I am like someone who I consider myself to be like quite introverted, and so as much time as I could spend by myself, just kind of regrouping and re-energizing, I would.
Well, and also, I know that it's acting, but your body doesn't always know the difference when you're putting it through trauma. Neither does your mind sometimes. So, do you have a way of letting go at the end of the process, or do you find it takes time?
I don't know if I quite have like a handle on that specifically. I mean, I think the hard thing for this particular film wasn't necessarily letting go of the character, because she's someone who is very, very deeply vulnerable on the inside, but she is constantly covering, constantly protecting herself. She doesn't want anything. She's not letting anything penetrate that layer of steel. It's only in those very private moments that you get to see that vulnerability. And so I definitely carried that with me. It was easy to leave behind, because I don't need that. I wear my heart on my sleeve personally, and so there's no more covering that up for me. But it was just leaving behind like the experience of making the film. Also, like the friends I made that live in different countries, and making a movie that special. I definitely have the feeling. Also, after every job I have, like, am I ever gonna work again? Is this gonna be, this is it, I guess, and now I have to leave behind this adventure. I just didn't want to leave it behind, so that was hard.
It's amazing to me that any movie ever gets made, but movie making magic is so incredible. I talked to Sean recently, he told me about that final scene. He's in the backseat of the car, like, working your chair because, it was broken, and this is, an independent movie, and, having all that going on and still giving that amazing performance. I'm so curious, was that ever difficult, this guerrilla style of filmmaking, or did it lend itself to, really fueling the performance?
I embraced every part of whatever we were doing. In terms of like guerrilla style, we would take a camera and like bring it into restaurants and film on, the streets of Vegas, and that was really exhilarating. I kind of felt like I was in Borat while we were and how often do you get to have that experience as an actor, to be able to sort of blur the lines like that between fantasy and like a real world? And so that was always really interesting for me, and I was felt protected by my director. But the last scene, Sean was in the car, but I think that was actually like quite intimate, because he's the director who is navigating and telling the story through, his lens, and so he's the one who gets to be there with us as we close the film out, and it was quite intimate, I think, and kind of nice for all of us, and very difficult scene to shoot, very vulnerable, and it took us a long time, like many days, to get the scene, because something would always happen. Like, as you said, independent filmmaking, the street would be too busy, or the snow looked fake.
Oh, that's right, the snow wasn't even real, was it?
Oops, yeah.
No. I was shocked, yeah.
Well, sometimes I'm like, I don't want to break the illusion too much, but that scene, it was one I was really nervous about, because I just put a lot of pressure on myself to do it right for Annie, which it's like not possible to like do it right. It's either honest and in the moment, or it's not. Mm-hmm. And I think we were able to get to a place where we were just grounded ourselves. I pulled something, from my own personal life to use for that scene to get to that emotional place, and we just got it, and we felt that it was honest and that it was right to me.
Honest is such a good word. I love that description. It's such an honest movie. I want to let everyone know, I believe you're going to be in the lobby to greet some people, so if you could not approach the stage at the end of this, she will be outside. But I just want to remind everyone, this movie is now, I believe it's actually streaming now. You can watch it even at home, but it's so great you all came to the theater. Again, congratulations on a fantastic performance.